me. I'm Wendy Madden, and I am the lead nurse for Menopause, working within the strategic project team at UHB. And I did create the very first Menopause passport. So I'll just go on to the introduction, really, what I'm going to talk about. So we'll talk about the menopause, what the definition is of a menopause. I'm going to give you some facts and figures as well. We'll also talk about the different types of menopause symptoms, and I'll share my journey of how the menopause passport came about. Next slide. Menopause definition. Yeah. So NICE Guidelines 2015 defines menopause as when a woman stops having periods as she reaches the end of her natural reproductive life. This is not usually abrupt, but a gradual process during which women experience perimenopause changes before reaching postmenopause, when periods become irregular and then stop with the end of fertility. A woman is postmenopausal when she has not had a period for 12 months. So looking at some facts and figures here. So we've got 70% of the 1.3 million strong NHS workforce are women. 90% of women in the wider workforce will experience menopause symptoms. So that's quite a lot. In the NHS, we know that 1 in 5 work menopausal age. The vast majority of those who are going through the menopause or the age work in the acute or mental health trust, and this is found in the strategy unit, and I think that was actually this year, 2022, yeah. A third are support staff, a third are employed as nurses and health visitors or midwives. Of those employees of a menopausal age, a quarter identify as a minority ethnic. Over half earn less than 30k. Next slide. So we have 76% of the total NHS workforce and 65% across wider public sector in the UK are women. 1 in 85 NHS employees may leave their NHS roles, and 1 in 48 may reduce their hours because of the severity of their menopausal symptoms. So the cost of this is estimated to be 116 million annually. Next slide. Oh. So the cost of failing to make workplace adjustments and are costing a lot of money, as we knew in the previous slide. But for staff, they can run into hundreds and thousands of pounds. And when taken into account the loss of talent, the high sickness absences, and the potential cost of defending a claim. Yet fulfilling legal obligations by making changes to the workplace and the working environment does not need to be difficult or costly. And we've also had in recent years, public awareness of the menopause on employers has increased. And we've also had and now we are expected to take more positive steps to our employees that have menopause symptoms, which is hopefully what I've done with the menopause passport. Okay, next slide. So when we talk about reasonable adjustments, it could be really, really minor things. And this could include just having fans, lighter uniforms, frequent breaks, and even checking the temperatures within the rooms, because sometimes the temperatures are far too high, which is causing more unpleasantness for our women who are going through the menopause. And then when we talk about adjustments, we mean things like flexible working, especially with staff that are suffering insomnia and maybe night sweats, and have difficulty then getting up in the morning for work or going to work and having sleep deprivation. So we have to be really mindful of that. Next slide. So let's just look at what types of menopause there is. So we have premature menopause, which this usually occurs before the age of 40. We have perimenopause, which is the time leading up to menopause, and a person may experience changes such as irregular periods or other menopausal symptoms. Um, and this can happen if you from statistically, we're looking at from the age of 40. We know something that happens a lot sooner. So we have menopause, and this is defined as a biological stage in a person's life that occurs when they've gone through 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period. And they say that we reach menopause at 51. But from my own experience, we've had members of staff that have actually started their menopause a lot sooner, and some have started a lot later. So what is postmenopause? Is the time after the menopause when a person has experienced 12 consecutive months without a period, and symptoms do not necessarily stop after 12 months without a period. Sometimes this can go on for a couple of years, or it can go on for a long time. Even, my own experience, 12 years. We've also got primary ovarian insufficiency, which we call POI. And this is called premature ovarian failure. And this occurs when the ovaries stop functioning normally before the age of 40. And this condition often leads to infertility. And then we have medically induced menopause, where the ovaries are damaged by treatments such as chemo, or that it's when they have them surgically removed. Next slide. These are just a number of symptoms. We have hot flushes, we have itchy skin, we have dry skin, we can have fatigue. Some people have heavy periods, hot sweats, night sweats. Some people also suffer from migraines, dizziness. When we look at the psychological symptoms, this is anxiety, they have brain fog, mood swings, lack of confidence, and this can also lead to depression. So I'll go on to now of my journey of how we got to the menopause pathway. At University Hospital Birmingham, we have 4 hospital sites, and we have some satellite sites as well. Our main sites are called Good Hope Hospital, Heartlands Hospital, Solihull Hospital, and Queen Elizabeth Hospital. We have a total of 25,000 staff in total. 18,000 of those are women. And currently, between the ages of 45 and 55, we have 4,354 women. Next. So my journey started March 2019, when I first became the chair for the Women's Network. And how that came about was that I had a really, really bad experience with my menopause. I was really couldn't function. I couldn't string a sentence together. Kind of didn't know what was going on. I ended up having 11 weeks off work, where the doctor then kind of diagnosed me with menopause and started me on some of the treatments. When I say that, HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy, and then I was able to come back to work. one of the things for me, I went to our occupational health to have my final meeting with them before returning to work. One of the questions I asked them was, what are we doing for women? Now, when we go back to 2019, it was still very much a taboo. Um, nobody was talking about it, nobody would conversate. And there was even women that wouldn't even, let their colleagues or their managers know anything that was going on with them. It was really, really, not understood enough. And so after I returned, went to Occy and they told me there was no support, nothing for women in the workplace. I decided then to go down to our inclusion team and find out from them what was we going to do. And at that point, they needed a chair for their new women's network. And I jumped at the opportunity to do that because I knew then that we could start looking at what we can do to support women's staff at UHB. One of the things for me was that I suffered really badly with anxiety. And so I thought it was really, really important that we get some champions training started. We got some champions in place. So there's every time somebody needed to have a conversation, they wasn't in a very good place while they were at work, they needed somebody to talk to, that they could contact one of the champions on the actual day and get to meet with them on that day so that they could support them and signpost them. And often than not, it wasn't always a case of having to do anything for them. It just needed somebody to talk to and be a listening ear. Then I kind of thought I can't be the only person that's going through what I went through. I needed to find out what other women's experiences were. Couldn't just look at mine, and not everybody has that kind of experience. But so I decided to start what we call the M Club, which is our menopause club, and that was in August 19. And from then, we had a lot of women. It was a safe, confidential space for women to come into and talk about their menopause and their symptoms. And often we could signpost them and support them. So what happened then was that I was finding having difficulties within the workplace. Sometimes they were tutted at, very much wasn't believed. They thought, often, um, there was quite ridiculed of going through the menopause. So I thought we really do need to do something about this. But at the time, after the COVID hit, we started having of our um, more incentives coming through about menopause from NHS England. We also had the likes of Davina McCall, um, kind of wanting to talk more about it and being more open about it. And so it became a little bit easier because in the early days of our N Club, the women was really, really worried about discussing menopause in their workplace and talking about even, mentioning their symptoms. Um, so then our inclusion team then put a menopause guidance together. And, we started getting out more that, menopause is important. Let's talk about it more. Let's get it out there. But there's always something missing for me. There was always, we could sign up, we could do pledges, but actually, how was that going to help the individual? And so in August 2021, I had thought about it and thought, I think we need to have something, a document that was just for that individual because we all go through different stages of the menopause. We all have different symptoms, and them symptoms that impact us at work are very different. And so I decided to put this past that, and then I presented it at a fairness task force, which was at the time chaired by our CO, and he was a male. And as soon as I presented it, he absolutely accepted it. Yes, this kind of says go away and make it happen. Um, It wasn't until November 2022 that we actually, because I had some time off work, uh, um, because I wasn't well, to get back and get this out. I was really anxious in suffering in the our trust. And so when I came back in I think it was the July or August time, I got working on putting the passport together and launched. And I never really thought how big the impact of that was going to be. It went national, and actually now it went international. And the amount of people that we had contacting us, um, we had about 77 different organisations contacting us about the passport, and these weren't just from the public sector as well as NHS. We also, um, that included public health and all the people that were saying we really do need this passport in our workplace. And so we freely have given that out because yes, we use it at UHB, but actually this is for all women. We've also got the menopause passport, which is included within our appraisal process as well, but it's also available. I mean, we don't want to wait the 12 months before somebody actually gets asked or has the opportunity to be open and talk about their menopause journey. So we obviously we have a lot of other, we have the menopause passport that is easy to download, and we have it on the Women's Network site, so we've got it everywhere we can, where possible. Next slide. So the part of our passport is looking at how can we support you while you're at work. And so part of that is looking at reasonable adjustments and flexible working. Um, what we don't want to do is create a barrier for someone experiencing menopause symptoms. And one of the unfortunate things that has happened in the past is that women were performance managed, which then led them to probably leave work because they felt that they couldn't do their job that they'd been doing sufficiently for the last 30 years. Um, and so I think with the passport, we've allowed that because what they have to do is have that conversation with their manager and tell them exactly how their menopause symptoms are impacting them at work and what can we do to support them while they're going through this menopause journey. Now, our adjustments don't have to be physical, as flexible working arrangements as well. And we have to make sure that we, listen to every woman's experience because, as I said earlier, they are a lot different. No two people are the same. Next slide. So that's our fancy version of the menopause passport. We've recently done that to make it be a bit more friendly. As we have got the other one, which is a controlled document. So it's not very when to present it, it's not very nice. So we've been able to get this menopause passport. We've also got the menopause at work, a guide for managers, because they need help and support as well. And then we've got a booklet for our colleagues to let them know what support is available to them, because we've got to reach out to people that don't necessarily have the intranet, have access to any of the information that we have, and that will include our domestic services and our catering services that don't have the opportunity to go on site. So we try and reach out to make sure that we are capturing everybody within them areas. We've also got a video for managers. It's only currently on the Women's Network site, but I'm hoping that this will go into our education. We call Moodle. I'm hoping it will go in there, and we may also be doing masterclasses for managers, so that they can ask any kind of questions or situations that they've been in. They may need support with that. Next slide. So when we're looking at what our next steps are, so um, we are looking at women's health this year, and so we're planning to look around, other conditions that affect women. And a lot of women have kind of contacted me and said that they suffer with endometriosis. So we're kind of going to be looking at the gynecological kind of aspects of women's health. Um, we're going to continue with our M Club, and we cross-site, we have to do them across all our sites. And I'm working with the Chief Nursing Officer, and we're going to look for support such as women's health awareness, but also helping with this is menopause. By the way, this is menopause. I am still going through it. The master classes as well. Um, we are very lucky because one of the other things that we wanted to do at UHB was have a women's health clinic just for staff. And so we've jointly joined with our occupational health, and this is hopefully going to start in May this year. So that will be access for all our staff, our women's staff, so that we can, we're starting with menopause, but we're hoping that this will expand to other gynecology, conditions, any kind of gynae conditions, and then, eventually, there's other things as well that we're looking at. There's, fertility, but we're also got to also think about the men as well. So we just got to see how it goes as from May. This is it will be a pilot, and it is going to be something new. So we've just going to have to work our way through it and see what other needs that we need for there. We've also want a better understanding in relation to health inequalities, because we know, especially from a maternity kind of point of view, that this goes on. So we're going to be, continue listening to our staff, finding out what support and things they need. We are going to be still working with our Chief Strategy Digital Officer and our Chief Medical Officer, and the strategic project team as well. We are going to be working with other organisations, which we have been doing. We've done NHS England. We've got BSOL, which is Birmingham Solihull Community Care. They provide strategic leadership for workforce across the system. We've also been working with the ICB, and that is our local integrated care board, and these are responsible for meeting the health needs of the population, managing the NHS budget and arranging the provision of health services. And we've also working with ICS, which is also an integrated care system, and partnerships that bring together the NHS organisations. And we've also, APNA, we've also been doing some webinars and things for them as well. And we'll just continue doing, but we're going to keep on making sure that we actually listen to our members of staff to see what their needs are. Next slide. Is there any questions?